Hey everybody, what's going on? And hope you guys are having a great start to your week. We got some great news, and this is a breaking story you're not going to hear anywhere else except for GNR Central and the MyGNR forums. So I want to thank Blackstar on the MyGNR forum. So Slash gave an interview to Radio Chile, and of course it was in Spanish, and somebody was nice enough to actually transcribe it into English or translate into English. And Slash confirmed that Guns N' Roses is touring in October. So in addition to playing the Louder Than Life Festival in Kentucky in September, he also confirmed they're going to be doing a short tour in October. So here's what he had to say on his plans for the rest of 2019. He said after South America, referring to his tour with the Conspirators, he said we'll go straight to Europe and do festivals over there. And after Europe, we'll go back to the States and Canada and do our first Canadian tour plus some US dates. So he's talking strictly about the Conspirators in that statement. And he says, and that goes until August. Then after that, I'm going to hook up with Guns N' Roses. And Guns N' Roses has a small tour in October. And then, there's been so much talk about a Guns N' Roses record, which we haven't actually done anything with. And then he laughed after saying that. So we're going to sort of focus on that. And the Conspirators will have some time coming up as well. And depending on what Guns N' Roses is doing, but I've already started putting together material for the new Conspirators records. So my 2 cents is that Guns N' Roses, if Guns N' Roses do not get into the studio to start working on a new record and we see Slash going back to the Conspirators early next year, I think it's game over for a new Guns N' Roses record. Like, it's really up to Axel what he wants to do with it, but I don't understand why they wouldn't go into the studio and start recording stuff, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But let's take a look at what festivals they could be playing in October. I'm assuming that because they're playing the U.S. in September, at least on that one date they've announced, the Louder Than Life Festival. There are some major festivals that go on in October that Slash played last year with the Conspirators that maybe Guns could show up at. So Austin City Limits takes place from October 4th to the 13th in 2019 this year. And then the one that Slash played last year was in Sacramento from October 11th to the 13th. That was the Aftershock Festival in Sacramento. So those are the 2 festivals that look like they go on. I know Mexico has something called the Ultra Mexico 2019, and that goes from October 12th to the 13th. But I'm assuming that Guns won't be playing one-off dates just where they're headlining. I think they'll be playing the festival circuit because I think they've probably exhausted all of their own touring that they've done. And as we get more information on this, guys, I will let you know. But we do have one confirmed tour date in September towards the end of the month. And then we've got some dates in October, but it's not known where those dates will be. I'm assuming they'll be in the States with some of the festivals going on around that time of year. So if you guys have any more information or have any guesses on where they could be playing, let me know in the comment section below. Now, this is an interesting story that came out recently, and I've done a true story episode about this in the Poison versus Guns N' Roses feud. So Variety posted an excellent piece by Louder Than Hell co-writer Catherine Turman chronicling the women execs of the 80s hair metal era and how they were treated. Now, the story noted that there was at least 3 women had Me Too stories that they chose not to share. Most said they could handle themselves with rude behavior and dealing with verbal harassment. Now, one shocking story came from longtime exec Bryn Bridenthal, who headed the publicity departments at DreamWorks, Geffen, Capitol Records, and Elektra. Bridenthal handled artists like the Motley Crue, Poison, and Guns N' Roses, and Bridenthal recalled attending an after-party shortly after Guns N' Roses released their debut album Appetite for Destruction, and ran into the members of Poison who took out their rage on her for something that Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash said about them in the press. She ran into Poison's bassist Bobby Dahl, and he was not happy. She told the story by saying he was all upset over a feature in Hit Parader that Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash did, saying that Poison were posers, she recalls. I may well have had a smirk on my face because I thought it was pretty funny that he thought this was all that important. So I said to him, I can't believe a band that sold 2 million albums feels so threatened by a band that hasn't even sold 200,000 copies. And she was referring to GNR at that point. Now, according to Bridenthal, Dahl responded by throwing a large drink in her face. Then the bassist jammed the cup on my head like a dunce cap. I retreated to the restroom to blot up sticky liquid. Mascara and beer really sting when splashed in your eye, she says. As Bridenthal and her friends were leaving the party, she was approached by Dahl and Poison singer Bret Michaels. One held my arms back, the other threw a tub of melted ice water over my head. Then a couple of security guys from the venue came up to say I was leaving, grabbed me under my arms and carried me out to the parking lot, locking me for bothering the Poison guy, she said. She said she tried to forget about it, even though her bosses encouraged her to press charges, but when Poison and their management began calling repeatedly to threaten me, I changed my mind and wanted apologies. I got insincere letters typed from their attorneys. Let's just say I'm not a Poison fan, Bridenthal told Variety. She ended up suing the band for $1.1 million, and Dahl and Michaels eventually pleaded guilty to misdemeanors. I imagine there's probably many stories like this. And there's many positive, uplifting stories in the article as well, spotlighting longtime publicist Maria Ferraro and Megaforce co-founder Marcia Zazula as well. Now, upon hearing this, the guys from Guns N' Roses were not very happy, and Breitenthal was kind of like a family member of theirs. And she worked for Geffen at the time, and they wrote her like a really heartfelt letter. Each of the members wrote something to her and signed it. And I've seen that letter in person. It's pretty cool, and it was up for auction a couple of years ago, and it sold, I think, for quite a bit of money. So Duff McKagan's wife, Susan, is out promoting her new book that's out called Velvet Rose. And she talked to Writer's Life magazine, and she told the audience a little bit about herself. I don't know a whole lot about her. I know she was a model before she met Duff, and she's got her own fashion line as well. And she talked a bit about her book, The Velvet Rose, and the inspiration behind it. So she said it's a fast-paced novel set in the early 90s that depicts an earnest and authentic coming-of-age story. It's injected with a colossal amount of adventure, love, and humor, and the story is navigated by a lead female protagonist named Scarlett. I believe people will eventually fall in love with the characters and almost feel as if they know them from after reading the book. The Velvet Rose captures the journey of figuring out one's own path and championing the aspect to finding your own dreams. So the novel is officially being released on April 16th and is available for pre-sale online at Amazon before hitting all the brick and mortars, as well as all the major bookstores from Barnes & Nobles, Target, Walmart, the Strand Bookstore, IndieBound, to Powell's bookstores, and many more. And Susan went on to say, let's just put it this way, if you enjoy books that take you on a voyage filled with lots of colorful travel, a rock and roll romance coupled with high fashion adventures and outrageous hilarity, then you or someone you know will love this book. At the end of the day, it is relatable to anybody who has ever had the courage to chase their dreams and Now, that wasn't the only interview she gave. She gave an interview to Fox News, but I don't think it was out on the actual channel itself. I think it was like on their online only. Like, there's some stories they only put online. So she gave an interview and she talked about the secret to her marriage. And I thought the secret was being super punk rock. And I guess that's not the case. So she talked about how she met her husband, Duff McKagan, back in 1996 and how she'd been set up on a blind date by a friend. So she said, I guess like anybody, I had some trepidation, the 46-year-old told Fox News. In fact, when he was calling me on the phone, he was like, can I take you out to dinner? I thought about it, and the next time he called, I said, you know what? How about I pick you up instead of you coming to pick me up at my house? Because I don't know, I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know if I wanted to have this guy at my address. It's just funny looking back because he's far from that. He's a true gentleman. So the couple tied the knot in 1999 and have 2 daughters. And looking back, McKagan said it was difficult not to resist the charismatic musician who instantly fell head over heels for her. So I thought he was extremely good looking, she gushed. He was so cute and very in shape. Some of these rock guys, you don't really know what to expect. He was newly sober and looked really healthy and fit, and you could see he'd been working out. And I don't know, he had a twinkle in his eyes. I say he has these smiling Irish eyes, and basically we just had sparks flying. We've basically been inseparable ever since. Another question McKagan has frequently asked about the 55-year-old rock star is how she deals with groupies, and the subject alone makes her chuckle. She insisted that the trust has been one of the many secrets behind their lasting union in Hollywood. She said he was raised by a large family of 8, she explained. He's the youngest, so he always says, my sisters would have kicked my ass if I misbehaved or didn't treat other women kindly. You need trust and respect, and it takes work. And like any relationship, you have to keep putting back into it and not just resting on those laurels. Now, recently, both Susan and Duff attended the 24th annual Elton John's AIDS Foundation Oscar viewing party at the City of West Hollywood Park on February 28th. And she also went on to say, we have genuine trust and respect for one another. We allow each other space. And of course, we enjoy each other's company. But he has to go off on tour and I'm working on my own stuff. And we also try and demonstrate being good parents and role models for our kids. I think one of the strongest things you can do is to show each other genuine love and respect. We're also blessed because we get to travel a lot, and I think a change of scenery is a good thing in a relationship. There's something about experiencing something together, whether it's just a mini road trip or an exotic island. I think he's definitely enhanced keeping the romance alive. So we've also got a recent interview with Guns N' Roses' original guitarist Tracy Guns. He was giving an interview, and he was asked about the current rock scene and his thoughts on it. And he said, yeah, there's a great younger band called Judas Priest, to which he laughed about. But except for them, anyone else, the interviewer asked, and Tracy Guns said, nothing grabs me. I don't want to lie and be gratuitous about it. Pantera to me was probably the last metal band that was still new to me when it came and really knocked me off my feet. But it doesn't mean I'm not listening to music I haven't heard before. Right now, I'm really starting to discover black metal. And beyond that, bands like Satricon, a lot of stuff like that, I'm really learning about, and I'm listening to all that music. And it's really interesting to me, and the culture and a lot of it that has to go with it. He said, I'm married to a Danish woman, so she brought a lot of Scandinavian metal into the house, and that's very interesting to me. The current rock scene is really good for LA Guns. I mean, I can look at it that way. There's not a lot of bands doing exactly what we do, and we're not doing anything that anybody else is really doing as well. And that doesn't mean there's not a lot of rock bands. There's a lot of rock bands and they're doing stuff, but I think that in rock, everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and that's very healthy. Like the new band that everybody's talking about, Greta Van Fleet, they've got that garage rock thing going, so they're capturing that vibe and that audience. Other than them, I really don't know, he said.